3 spine-chilling true road trip tales of sinister encounters and unexplained terror revealed. The Millers thought a family road trip could heal the wounds from their devastating year, the loss of their home and their beloved dog, Max. With Massachusetts memories scattered like autumn leaves, they crammed into their old minivan, ready to journey along the iconic Route 66. But little did they know that this trip would turn into a terrifying descent into darkness. As Mark and Lisa drove, their kids, Jake and Mia, cranked the music, the vibrant tunes contrasting sharply with the haunting shadows of their recent losses. With every mile, anticipation sparked a flicker of joy until dusk settled in, draping the quiet highway in an unsettling shroud. That's when they found the diner, a nostalgic postcard of Americana nestled in a sleepy southern town. Its neon lights buzzed ominously against the encroaching night, and laughter spilled from the open door like an invitation laced with danger. Inside, the air was thick with the intoxicating scent of grease and desperation, as old country songs echoed off the cracked walls. A cheerful waitress with bright pink lipstick floated over, her smile disarmingly wide. "You folks passing through? Be careful. This town has a legend about a missing child." Her voice trailed off, the unsettling silence swallowing her words. The Millers shared uneasy glances, feigning amusement while their hearts raced, a chill crawling up their spines. They finished their meals quickly and returned to their minivan, only to be met with a heavy silence. Mark turned the key, but the engine coughed and spat, nothing followed. Panic rippled through the family. Mark's confident demeanor faded as dread rushed in like a storm. They were stranded in a town that felt more and more like a trap. As night descended heavily, the world around them darkened. Shadows stretched across the street, and whispers, like ghostly fingers, wrapped around them, pulling them deeper into the quiet, sinister atmosphere. They needed help, so they attempted the short drive to a rundown motel recommended by the waitress. But with every turn they took, the street grew narrower and dimmer, the laughter from the diner now echoing like a distant, mocking chorus. "Keep your eyes open," Lisa urged, gripping her seat as Jake and Mia huddled together, confusion etching their small faces. With a burst of desperate energy, they tried to backtrack, but the roads twisted as if they were taunting them. "Are we lost?" Mia's voice trembled, a spark of fear igniting. Unknown to the Millers, the town was alive, breathing darkness. An elderly man with a slow, deliberate gait began to follow them, his presence a twisted blend of welcome and threat. Even in the shadows, his knowing smile glowed like a lighthouse leading them toward impending doom. Just as they thought they could escape, a sickening jolt rocked the minivan, a flat tire. Reality crashed down around them, sealing the doors to nightmare and uncertainty. Hushed voices echoed from alleyways, whispers trapping them in an unseen web of horror. The diner's cheerful facade peeled away, revealing a cruel reality. "Nothing was as it seemed. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the swirling shadows closing in, the Millers dared not look back. How had their adventure turned into a haunting pursuit? Echoes of laughter twisted into screams, taunting their every step. As they sprinted in the opposite direction, a sickening realization dawned: the diner wasn't just a stop but the center of something unfathomable. Would they ever escape this town, this nightmare where the only promise was a taste of betrayal? They stumbled out of the minivan, panic surging through every vein. Jake, clutching Mia's hand tightly, glanced back, his young face pale against the gathering dark. The whispers intensified, echoing off brick facades and fading street lamps, swirling around them like an angry wind. "Where do we go?" he hissed, his voice quaking. Mark shot a glance at the diner off in the distance. The bright lights that had once felt inviting now pierced his soul like daggers. "Forward. Just keep moving," Mark barked, urging Lisa and the kids to hurry. They ran, footsteps pounding against the cracked pavement as they fled the minivan and the heart of the malignant town. The night seemed to pulse around them, shadows writhing beneath the glow of the dim streetlights. They didn't notice the figures stirring in the gloom until a low, gravelly laughter broke through the night, chilling them to the core. Mark stopped abruptly, yanking his family behind him. What was that? Lisa's voice carved through the darkness. She turned her head, searching for the source, but the street lay still. Only a heavy silence met them, a pressing weight that made it hard to breathe. Keep moving. Mark insisted, his heart racing. We have to find help. As they hurried along the fading street, Lisa's mind raced. How had they gotten here? Why was there no one else around? The townsfolk had hinted at something lurking beneath the surface. Unnamed fears gripped her, gnawing away at her resolve. Ahead, past the diner, they caught sight of a flickering beacon in the night. A gas station. Its neon sign buzzed like the diner's, giving off an eerie glow that seemed to pulse with life. They dashed toward it, hope igniting in their chests, but with every step they took, the oppressive atmosphere deepened, wrapping around them like fog. As they approached the gas station, a figure stepped out from the shadows, his face obscured by the dim light. He wore a grimy jumpsuit, a baseball cap pulled low over his brow. "You're not from around here, are ya?" he drawled, leaning against the station's wall, arms crossed over his chest. His smile was too wide, too knowing. What happened to our tire?" Mark stammered, feeling a sense of wrongness wash over him. "Flat tires don't just happen," the man chuckled, the sound echoing harshly in the vacant night. "This town has a way of keeping folks around for a while." Mia clung tighter to Jake, who shivered at the man's words. "We just need help." We don't want any trouble," Jake said, his voice trembling. The man's eyes glinted in the darkness, hinting at something predatory. "Oh, but trouble's already found you, kid. You took a wrong turn, and you can't leave until you pay the price." "Price?" Lisa echoed, her voice soft but trembling with dread. "What do you mean?" The man laughed again, the sound twisted and cruel. "Every soul who stops in this town owes something. Most pay with stories, but some, well, they pay with something much more valuable." Behind them, laughter echoed once more, but this time it was deeper, more sinister. It wrapped around them like chains, dragging them back toward the diner, toward the dark heart of the town. With their escape route dwindling and choices fading, Lisa felt despair closing in. "Mark, we need a plan," she whispered, but her husband's eyes were wide with fear, scrambling to make sense of the unpredictable horror they faced. As the shadows loomed closer and the laughter turned to howls, a sickening thought gnawed at Lisa. Would their desperation lead to a different kind of payment than they could ever expect? Would they have the strength to fight, or would they fall prey to the cruel charm of a town that craved unwilling sacrifices? As the invisible grip of the town tightened, they prepared to confront the inevitable. But before they could make their decision, the ground rumbled beneath their feet, and the night erupted, shattering into chaos. What awaited them as the darkness clawed closer? What terrible price would they pay to survive? The ground heaved violently, throwing everyone off balance. Lisa stumbled, clutching her stomach as fright crept into her mind like ice through her veins. A low growl resonated from the shadows, echoing off the walls like a deranged symphony, weaving through the crowd of unseen eyes fixated on them. Mark scrambled to grab Mia and Jake, pulling them tightly against him. "Stay close." His voice barely broke through the rumble. The gas station attendant, with his wide grin and beady eyes, seemed unfazed, merely observing as the world trembled around them. The light from the buzzing neon sign above flickered erratically, casting ominous shadows that danced and twisted, creating ghostly figures that darted in and out of view. Lisa glanced toward the diner. It loomed unnaturally, its windows dark and empty, a hungry maw waiting to swallow them whole. "Go! Run!" Mark shouted, and they tore off, feet pounding against the asphalt. The gas station attendant's voice sneered from behind, swirling in the chaos. "Oh, but you can't outrun the town. The path ahead took them past the diner, the stillness exuding a fetid breath that chilled them further. Shadows seemed to reach out, curling around their ankles, almost pulling them back. When they glanced over their shoulders, the attendant had vanished, swallowed by the darkness like so many before. "We can't stop," Mia whimpered, her eyes bulging with fear. Jake gripped her tighter, his face a mask of uncertainty, but he ran alongside her as they pressed forward, gasping for air that felt thick and cloying. Suddenly, from the edge of their vision, they saw figures emerging, hunched shapes that slinked from the alleys. Worn faces with hollow eyes, skin stretched tight across bone, grinned wickedly at them. A group of townsfolk? Or something far worse? Panic surged anew as they converged with terrifying speed. "Keep moving. Don't look back," Mark ordered, squeezing Lisa's hand as they dashed toward a side street, darting between two crumbling buildings. The laughter chased them, echoing like a cicada's song from a fevered nightmare. A thick fog rolled in, wrapping around them, clinging to their skin, suffocating them in odors of decay and something metallic. "I can't breathe." Jake coughed, the terror coating his throat like ash. "Just a little longer," Lisa urged, struggling to keep her own terror at bay. She didn't know where they were going, only that the shadows felt closer now, and the eyes watching, hungrier. They stumbled into an old courtyard, littered with debris, the ground uneven and littered with remnants of what once was. A rusted fountain sat idle in its center, covered in grimy water that reflected fractured images of the town, hinting at dark secrets. Mark quickly scanned their surroundings, searching for any sign of shelter. "What if they find us?" he panted, eyes darting. Just then, a distant whoop of laughter erupted, echoing off the courtyard walls. "Over there." "The door." Lisa pointed to a dark entrance shadowed by creeping vines. They rushed toward it, desperate. But as Mark pulled on the handle, a sickening realization gripped him. It was locked tight. "No!" he shouted, banging on the door, but the laughter crescendoed outside. The laughter of townsfolk, eerily familiar voices that twisted his insides. The shadows grew thicker, coiling toward them like serpents. "Mark, what do we do?" Lisa's voice trembled, brushing her fingers against the rusting iron. It felt wrong, tainted. She shivered as she spotted a gleam behind them, a flicker of something sharp in the dimness. "Find a way," he started, but the laughter transformed into howls, and the figures began to swarm the courtyard, closing in. The air felt electric, thick with the scent of desperation, heart racing. Mark turned back to the group and blurted out, "If we don't make it until dawn." He swallowed hard, pressing against the door. "We will owe them something unspeakable." With their lives hanging by a thread, could they outsmart the town? Would their fight for survival lead them to a dark truth? The shadows creeped closer as Mark's words hung ominously in the air. What would it cost to escape? The courtyard felt cavernous, an abyss where sound was swallowed whole. Every breath was a risk, the air thick with dread, and they could hear it, the laughter, relentless and mocking, drawing near. Lisa pressed closer to Mark, her heart hammering against her ribs. "They're coming," she whispered, as if saying it louder might make it true. "Not yet," Mark hissed back, scanning the walls for any cracks, any way out. The iron door loomed behind him, an immovable sentinel. He felt a pulse of panic. They were trapped. "Look!" Mia's voice cut through the tension. The fountain. A dark pool at its base bubbled slightly, as if disturbed by unseen forces. "We can hide behind it." Mark hesitated, eyes darting towards the approaching shadows, then nodded. "Okay. Move." They hurried to the fountain, their feet slapping against the cobblestones, each echo amplifying their fear. Huddled behind the crumbling stone, they watched the figures spill into the courtyard like oil seeping through cracks. Faces twisted into grotesque shapes, their eyes glimmered with hunger. They were unnervingly familiar, an impossible mockery of the townsfolk they once knew. "Why do they look like?" Mia began, fear creeping into her voice. But Jake cut her off, his face pale. Shoo. They'll hear us. The figures roamed, their laughter morphing into sinister chants. They circled the fountain, almost ritualistic. They're looking for us, Lisa said. What do we do? Mark clenched his jaw, adrenaline coursing through him. We can't stay here forever. There has to be something, but as he searched, the figures stopped, their heads snapping towards the fountain, eyes glowing like dark coals. The shadows parting revealed the gas station attendant's silhouette among the townsfolk. A twisted grin stretched across his face. You think you can hide? The town knows all your secrets. Panic jolted through Mark, causing him to whisper urgently, we need to move. Now. Their hearts synchronized in fear, beating frantically. As one, they darted from behind the fountain, a desperate sprint toward the alley leading out. The laughter crescendoed, escalating into a frenzy. It chased them, a living being with sharp teeth, ready to consume them whole. The alley walls recoiled, narrowing as they ran. The shadows seemed to bulge and pulse with malice. This way. Lisa screamed at a fork in the path, her instinct guiding them. They turned sharply, and the air grew thicker, a miasma of decay and dread. A buzzing sound emerged, crawling under their skin, and Lisa felt at first a sensation like tiny insects biting at her neck. What is that? Hurry! Mark yelled, disregarding her question as shadows rounded the corner. They skidded to a halt, a dead end before them, an old fence, splintered and covered in thorns. Up! Jake urged, pointing. Marks grasped it, pulling himself up first, scraping his palms on the splintered wood. Mia! You next! Jake hesitated, his eyes darting back at the shadows pouring into the alley. I can't leave you. Just go. Mark shouted, panic slicing through him. Get out. Suddenly, laughter echoed louder than before. The ground beneath began rumbling violently again, feeling like a heartbeat. The fence trembled, and something dark unfurled from the shadows, sweeping like a wave toward them. The terror in Mia's eyes told him they had little time. I'll hold them off. He screamed, shoving Jake up. Now, Mia. Panic shut them down, their escape hanging by a thread. Behind them, hands reaching from the shadows grasped at their heels, fingers brushing against their ankles like cold tendrils. Then came a shriek, piercing the chaos. It was Lisa, lunging for them, fingers alighted with a flickering flame catching hold of the creeping darkness. Go. Just go. Amidst the cacophony, the thundering laughter, the spasms of the earth, the threat of something baring its fangs, they scrambled. Mark threw one last glance back, the pools of black receding as Lisa fought. His heart thudding, he leapt over the top and landed dirty asphalt beneath him, but the taste of freedom close. We did it. He gasped, trembling, but behind him, the shadows lingered, a promise of vengeance hanging heavy in the air. As he turned, the heart-stopping laughter escalated, a demonic echo repeating in haunting refrain, you can't escape the town. What had they awakened? What would they lose next? The questions wrapped around them like chains as they fled deeper into the night, the darkness beckoning with promises of unearthly horrors. Mark's legs felt like lead as they stumbled into the darkness. The asphalt was a lifeline, but each step echoed with danger, memories of Lisa's flawless smile flashing in his mind. We can't leave her, he muttered, choking on the words. Mia clutched his arm, her grip vice-like, though he could see the terror in her eyes. She wouldn't want us to die, Mark. We have to keep moving. Don't you get it? His voice cracked. They're waiting. They'll come for us next. The flickering lights from old street lamps sputtered and died, plunging them deeper into shadow. The sound of their breathing filled the air, desperate and ragged, drowning out the distant laughter that crept closer. They darted through alleyways, their feet barely finding purchase on the slick cobblestones. The abandoned buildings loomed like tombstones, watching them with hollow eyes. There. Mia pointed to a narrow entrance flanked by crumbling bricks. We can hide in there. Mark hesitated, glancing back. Do you really think it'll be safer? But the laughter grew sharper, closer, filling his chest with ice. He nodded, pushing through the entrance behind her. The air was thick with mildew and something sharp that pricked at the back of his throat. It was dark inside, the kind of dark that swallowed anything promising hope. Mark, Mia whispered, voice barely a breath. Do you think she's okay? I don't know. He leaned against the wall, trying to calm the frantic rhythm of his heart. We can't afford to think like that right now. Suddenly, an unnatural chill swept through the room. They weren't alone. The shadows shifted, undulating across the walls, creeping toward them like dark tendrils. Mark's breath caught in his throat when he saw something glimmer, eyes glinting in the dark. Run! He screamed, yanking Mia forward just as something scraped against the door frame behind them. They burst from the confines of the building, back into the embrace of the night. But the laughter, melodic and sinister, twisted around them. It was as if they had entered a funhouse of horrors, where each corner they turned only led to more imminent danger. Where do we go now? She panted. There's nowhere left. Panic seeped into her voice. Just keep running. There has to be a way out. Mark pushed himself harder, adrenaline firing every nerve ending. The pounding of his heart matched the dull thud of feet racing against the ground, a symphony of terror. Then they reached the plaza, moonlight spilling over cracked pavement. In the center stood an old monument, a shadowed figure of twisted metal. What is that? Mia gasped, her eyes wide, uncertainty gripping her. I don't know, but it can't be any worse than what's chasing us. Mark moved closer, the monument looming like a giant sentinel over the chaos. As they approached, the laughter morphed, taking on a clear voice that sent shivers down Mark's spine. You think you've escaped? It echoed, warping and twisting like smoke in the air. The town always gets what it wants. Mark! Mia shrieked, pointing. From behind the monument, a figure emerged, a silhouette of Lisa, bathed in shadow, but her face was nothing like he remembered. Hollow cheeks and sunken eyes glared at them, a smirk smeared across her lips. Finally, you're here. I've been waiting, Lisa. Mark's voice trembled, uncertainty clouding his mind. What happened to you? It's beautiful here, she whispered, stepping closer. You just have to give in to the town. Mark felt the ground shift beneath him, fear pooling in his gut. Mia, step back. It was too late. From behind Lisa, shadowy figures began to unfurl. They clawed at the air as if welcoming her into their grotesque embrace. No! Mark yelled, reaching for Mia, but the dark entities surged forward, engulfing the space. In that encroaching darkness, the silhouette of Lisa laughed, a sound twisted with madness and despair. It echoed endlessly, wrapping around them like a shroud as they screamed. The monument loomed ominously, and just as the last shred of light flickered away, Mark felt the cold grasp of shadow reach for him. What would it cost them to escape? The question hovered in the air, heavy as the shadows began to close in. Would they follow Lisa into the depths, or find another way out? The darkness clutched tightly, ready to reveal its deepest secrets. The darkness enveloped them, thick like smoke, blurring Mark's vision. Panic surged as he clawed for sight, heart pounding like a drum. Mia! He screamed, but the laughter drowned out his voice, echoing in mocking waves. A cold wind moaned through the plaza, swirling around them, cutting deeper than any blade. Shadows danced violently close, the figures writhed, and Mark felt the air grow staler, heavier with dread. The silhouette of Lisa loomed ahead, an eerie grin plastered on her face. Mia! Suddenly, a chilling thought pierced his panic. Where was she? He spun around, heart racing against the tides of uncertainty. Mia! His voice trembled, barely a whisper now. Silently, he begged the ground to swallow him whole rather than face the dread that washed over him. No response. He stumbled backward, colliding with the monument. Cold metal pressed against his back, and for a moment, he felt the stone's denseness as it anchored him. But a slow realization gripped him. The monument wasn't just an artifact, it was a cage, a watcher of the town's dark secrets. "Join us." Lisa's voice drifted through the darkness, sweet but laced with something sinister. "This place can offer more than you imagine." "No," he muttered, shaking his head as though it might clear away the vision of his friend's twisted features. "You're not Lisa, you're not her." He could hear the thrum of his blood in his ears, the mounting fear threatening to explode. The shadows shifted, settling around him, forming a wall that felt impossibly close. They elongated, snaking toward his feet, cold and clammy. "You think you can run forever?" They jeered in unison, their voices merging into a haunting symphony of despair, but then, a flicker of light danced in the pitch blackness. Mia's flashlight. "Mark." Her voice was the spark igniting his hope. He fought against the shadows that tugged at him, momentum propelling him to her. "Over here!" he yelled, pushing past tendrils of darkness that curled around his ankles, still too keen on pulling him into their clutches. He saw her, crouched behind a broken fountain, her hands trembling as she clutched the flashlight like a lifeline. "What is going on?" she gasped, eyes wide with fear. "Run!" Mark urged, scurrying to her side as another wave of shadows crashed toward them with terrible intent. As they took off together, the monument loomed behind, shadows writhing in a grotesque display of hunger. They darted down side streets, desperate and breathless, air tasting of iron and decay. "We need to find a way out, we can't go back there." Mia's voice was frantic, but Mark felt something shift in the air. "Wait." He halted suddenly, the hairs on his neck standing on end. A figure, tall and cloaked, stood at the end of the street. Who are you?" he called out, voice trembling. For a moment, silence swallowed them whole. And then the figure moved with an unnatural fluidity, stepping forward into the dim light. As it approached, the laughter erupted again, a shrill, twisted sound that vibrated through the very core of Mark's being. "Mia, don't!" he shouted, thrusting an arm protectively in front of her. The figure raised its head. Beneath the hood, a smile gleamed, a nightmare of gnashing teeth and dark eyes that sparkled with malice. "You cannot escape. All roads lead back to the town," it whispered, voice dripping with delight. Suddenly, Mark felt it, the ground beneath him pulsing as if alive. "This isn't happening!" he shouted, trying to shake off the feeling as he and Mia backed away, every instinct screaming at them to flee, but where could they run? A sudden crushing dread weighed down on him, each beat of his heart amplifying the urgency. They had stumbled into something dreadful, a game with rules none of them understood. "Mark," what if Mia began, but Mark cut her off. "No. We've come this far. We won't give in." He met her eyes, and for one heartbeat, they exchanged an unspoken resolve. But darkness laughed, swirling around them as it closed in for the kill. What would they sacrifice to find the truth? As they faced the encroaching shadows, the heavy chill promised unspeakable revelations. Would they dare uncover the secrets lurking in the town's heart? A piercing shriek shattered the tense silence, the laughter redoubling in intensity as the cloaked figure sprang forward. The air thickened, a tangible dread suffocating them. Mark's instincts screamed at him to move, to flee from whatever horror awaited. He grabbed Mia's wrist, pulling her with him down the labyrinthine alley. "Just run!" he barked, adrenaline surging through his veins as they sprinted deeper into the darkened streets, the shadows chasing them like hellhounds. Mia's breath came in panicked gasps. "Where are we going?" "To the woods. We can lose them in the trees." A flicker of hope ignited within him, but with every step, the darkness seemed to close in tighter, the very ground shifting beneath their feet. Every shadow twisted and writhed, reaching out with phantom hands, desperate to reclaim what dared to escape. They burst onto a narrow path leading into the thick underbrush. The moon offered little light, struggling to pierce through the entangled branches. Mark felt a brief moment of relief. The woods promised concealment. But as they dove into the trees, the laughter transformed, shifting into sinister whispers that flowed around them like a current in a dark stream. "Mark, I don't like this," Mia whimpered, stumbling over roots, her flashlight flickering. "What if we're not alone?" He turned to her, panic evident in her wide eyes. "We have to keep moving." He shoved his fear deep inside. He couldn't let her see how terrified he was. Each rustling of leaves sent chills down his spine, the darkness surrounding them thickening like a living thing. Then came a sound, heavy footfalls echoing closer. A low growl, just beneath the rustling leaves. Mark's pulse quickened. He turned, searching the shadows. "Over there," he hissed, pointing to a thicket. They scrambled forward, ducking behind a dense cluster of bushes. Peering out, they watched as the cloaked figure advanced into the woods, a predatory glint in its eye. It stood motionless, scanning the trees, and for a heartbeat, Mark felt their presence expose them. "Please, please," Mia whispered, squeezing his hand, her body trembling beside him. He could feel her warmth, anchoring him against the cold fingers of fear wrapped around his heart. The figure spoke again, its voice like gravel. "The woods will trap you. There is no escape." Mark felt a surge of rage. "You're wrong," he hissed under his breath, unwilling to accept defeat. But the shadows responded, thickening around them, wrapping their tendrils around the trees. He tried to focus, but the air grew heavier, pressing in on them. "Mark." Mia's voice cracked. "Look." He turned to see that, somehow, the woods had begun to shift, paths narrowing, trees moving as if they were alive, rearranging, trapping them in an ever-tightening grip. The ground vibrated ominously, the heartbeat of the town thrumming in synchrony with theirs, a dreadful reminder of their vulnerability. "No, no," Mark muttered, his heart racing. They had stepped into a maze, created by something ancient and cruel. They needed to find a way out, and fast. Which way? Mia's voice wavered, eyes darting in fear. The word crumbled as the laughter erupted again, resonating all around them, a cacophony of voices rising from nowhere. He felt it creeping, scratching at his sanity, each laugh a doubt invading his mind. "We're running out of time," Mark exclaimed, frustration clawing at him. They couldn't stay here, not with the figure looming, calling to them from parts unseen. Mia gripped his arm tighter. "What are we going to do?" And in that moment, Mark realized, with a bone-chilling clarity, that they weren't just running from something. They were being hunted. The woods held secrets, dark, twisted secrets, and it was up to them to unearth the truth before they lost themselves entirely. As the laughter morphed into something horrifying, echoing in the confines of the trees, Mark felt the air shift again, a whisper brushing against his ear. "You can't hide forever. We will find you," with shadows coiling at their heels. They took off deeper into the oppressive darkness, and Mark knew every choice they made would either lead them to freedom or bind them to the town's unforgiving fate. What awaited them on the hidden path ahead, and would they still be themselves if they were found? Branches whipped against their skin as Mark and Mia ran, desperate to escape the clutches of darkness that indeed seemed alive. The laughter had receded momentarily, replaced by an unsettling stillness, as if the woods themselves were holding their breath. Each heartbeat thundered in Mark's ears, drowning out the whispers that were trying to ensnare them, wrapping tendrils around their minds. "Keep moving," he urged, feeling the weight of Mia's fear pressing down on him. She stumbled, and he caught her just in time. "We can't stop. We can't let them catch us." But Mia shook her head, her flashlight dying with a sickly flicker, leaving them in deeper shadow. "I can't see. I can't." Mark squeezed her shoulder firmly. "Listen to me. Just follow my voice. We'll find a way out." They pressed onward, every sound amplified. The faint rustle of leaves, the distant growling claws dragging against the forest floor, or perhaps just the roots of ancient trees shifting uneasily. Time felt suspended between breaths, seconds stretched into eternity as the dark luminescence played tricks on their eyes. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, rumbling like some creature awakening from slumber. Mark glanced at Mia, and he saw it the raw terror in her eyes, the question unspoken. What if they didn't get away? Mark, what if we're not meant to leave? Her voice shattered through the air, fragile and fearful, a soft plea clinging to the wooden trunks around them. He pushed the doubt deep down, forcing a brave smile. We are not part of this, Mia. We will break this cycle. We just need to keep moving. But as they slipped into a small clearing, an unnatural chill snaked around them, the trees leaning closer, their gnarled branches like fingers reaching to grasp them. There it was again, that laughter, echoing from all directions, a chorus of sinister whispers that slipped beneath their skins, crawling into their minds. Look! Mark shouted, feeling plugged into the fear and energy sparking through him. That way. He pointed toward a narrow path opening between two ancient oaks, their bark twisted and rotten. It felt wrong, but any way that looked promising was worth the risk. But what if it leads us no time? He snapped, urgency sharpening his tone. We'll take it. They dashed toward it, the sensation of being pursued sharpening the edges of his instincts. He ducked under a low-hanging branch only to hear a shift behind them. The figure had returned, emerging from the gloom like a specter. The cloak brushed the ground, and its presence was unbearably suffocating. Faster! Mark shouted, shoving Mia ahead of him. They barreled down the path, the figures in the trees warping into contorted shapes, mocking them as they fled. Twisting roots reached up like hands, attempting to snare them, and Mark felt the heart-stopping panic creeping back. Still, the deeper they ran into the woods, the more claustrophobic it became. The trees converged, closing off every escape route, squeezing them into a tighter bind. We're going in circles, Mia gasped, her breath hitching. Mark, I can't. We will find a way. But even he could hear the tremor in those words. The truth was, the dread clawing at him hinted more than just a chase, it whispered of something darker, a truth hidden in the forest's very core. With each step, he felt the forest pulling at him, as if trying to weave him into its twisted spell. A fragment of time caught him, and images flooded his mind, lost souls roaming, buried tragedies buried beneath the roots. The shadows laughed, but it was a different sound now, a recognition, a mocking understanding of their fear. Look! Mia cried, pointing to a faint flicker of light through the bleak darkness. There's something ahead. He hesitated a moment, unsure if it was a mirage or a trap, but the laughter escalated, mocking them closer. Now or never. Mark grabbed her hand. Together, they raced toward the light, hope mingling with desperation, but as they drew near, the light flickered and dimmed, revealing something more than they could have possibly prepared for. Truth lay ahead, hidden, waiting to snatch away whatever remnants of their courage remained, and then, just before they stepped into the eerie glow, the forest screamed in harmony, the shriek erupting like a thunderclap, freezing them in place. Run! Mark's voice rang out desperately, but the darkness chuckled softly, you've come too far now. May the light show you the truth. What could that truth possibly be, and at what cost would they learn it? The flickering light beckoned like a siren's call. Mark and Mia stood frozen, a primal instinct battling the overwhelming urge to flee. The laughter swirled around them, rising and falling, a sound that twisted in their guts. It was almost inviting. Mark, maybe we should go back. Mia's voice cracked, fear pouring from her like a broken dam. Back to what? He hissed, glancing over his shoulder as shadows twisted and warped. The figure lurked just behind the trees, ever present, watching, waiting. We can't go back. We have to keep moving. The light pulsated, growing brighter for a fleeting moment. I can see something, someone. Mia gasped, squinting through the darkness, her mind caught between hope and dread. Maybe they can help us. A person? Mark scoffed, though the idea intrigued him. The woods felt alive, each rustle promising a new horror. We'll risk it. With their hearts pounding, the pair sprinted toward the light, the shadows becoming more restless, flailing branches swiping at them as they dashed. Just a few steps away, they stumbled into the clearing, breathless and trembling. Before them stood a figure cloaked in robes of white, their face obscured. It seemed to shimmer in the light, radiating warmth amidst the chilling air. "Welcome, lost souls," the figure intoned, voice smooth yet textured, like an echo of 1,000 whispers. "You've wandered far." Mark's heart raced. Are you here to help us?" The figure tilted their head, a faint smile playing on their lips. "Help comes with a price. Are you prepared to face the truth?" "I don't care about the price," Mia shouted, desperation spilling over. "We just want to escape." The figure straightened, an unseen force settling in the air. "Your escape is within reach, if you dare to confront what lurks inside." "Inside?" Mark swallowed hard, the words heavy with implication. "Yes," the figure replied, their tone shifting to a low, conspiratorial whisper. "The darkness that follows you has a story, a truth buried deep in your fears. Only by confronting it can you hope to break free." Suddenly, the hollering laughter rose to a crescendo, shattering the tension. The trees danced violently, and tendrils of shadow stretched toward them like hungry beasts. "No!" Mark yelled, trying to shield Mia. The light dimmed again, threatened by the encroaching malevolence. Without a word, Mia stepped forward. "What do we need to do?" Her voice trembled but was fierce. "Face what haunts you," the figure replied, a rush of urgency in their tone. Just then, whirling shadows took form, faces twisted in agony and despair. Mark recoiled, recognition crashing down upon him like a tidal wave. "Those are people," he gasped, the horror etched onto their features. "How could this be?" "What, they are souls trapped in this world, marked by their fears. Look closely. They reflect your darkest memories." The laughter twisted again, engulfing them in an eerie chorus. Memories flooded Mark's mind, guilt, regret, shadows of past mistakes he thought were buried. His breath quickened, panic rising like bile. "No. I can't." But the figure's voice droned on, urging him to find the truth hidden in the shadows. "Mark." Mia's voice cut through. "What's your truth?" The realization hit him like cold water breaking over him. He felt their eyes upon him, the shadows. Their plea was clear: confront those memories, or remain lost forever. "What if we can't do it?" His voice trembled, choking on fear. "Then you will never leave." Desperation clawed at him. The laughter crescendoed, and with it, the shadows lunged. "We have to do it," Mia yelled, gripping his hand tighter. "We can't let them win." And just like that, with fear laced in every heartbeat, Mark took a step toward the dark vortex, ready to confront the truth that would either free them or seal their doom. Would they emerge as survivors or join the haunted echoes eternally? The forest held its breath, waiting. Mark stepped forward, each footfall heavy with the weight of his memories. Shadows danced ominously around them, twisting their features into grotesque reminders of the pain he'd buried, the tight chest from the loss of Max, the dread that came with his family's struggles. Faceless tormentors swirled around him, urging him to relive every hurt, every regret. "Mia, whatever happens, don't look back," he whispered, his voice trembling with a mix of determination and fear. "I'm right next to you," she replied, her grip on his arm tightening. They took another step together, plunging into the swirling darkness. Memories flooded back in a chaotic rush, his failures at work, the heated arguments with Lisa, the moments when he didn't listen and when he pushed everyone away. Each memory struck like a hammer to the chest, threatening to topple him into despair. "Face them," the cloaked figure commanded, its voice echoing in their minds. What haunts you will not release its grip until you confront it. Mark. Mia's voice cut through the haze, grounding him. Remember what we talked about, what we lost doesn't define us. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to look closer at the swirling shadows. You want me to confront my guilt? He shouted into the thick darkness. My insecurities? My pain? He felt anger boiling up not just at himself, but at the circumstances that had twisted their lives into this nightmare. Confront what you fear, the figure urged, its presence both comforting and chilling, like an eerie beacon in a storm. Face the past to secure your future. Sudden clarity hit him like a bright light in the darkness. Sure, he had mistakes, but there was also love, moments of laughter, warmth, and comfort shared with Lisa and the kids. He remembered Max's wagging tail, the way he could always make their family smile. I will not let fear control me. Mark yelled, voice echoing against the trees. The shadows writhed, letting out piercing cries as if they could feel their grip loosening, unraveling in the face of his resolve. Stepping forward, he let his memories wash over him but transformed them. I remember love. I remember hope. His heart swelled as he visualized it, Lisa's smile, the way Mia and Jake laughed together. The memory of home, not the physical structure but the bonding through adversity. Mia's eyes lit up, a small flicker of hope igniting between them. Yes. That's it. We won. Let them take us. We will win. The laughter from the shadows turned frantic, chaos swirling as they fought against the light emerging from their unity. Mark looked at Mia, a shared determination in her eyes. We're getting out of here. Together. Together, they stepped into the fray, holding on to those precious memories that defined family over fear. The shadows recoiled, the laughter fading as the light tightened around them, a barrier against the darkness. But there was still work to be done. Mark took another step, feeling the warmth of his family's love radiating through him. One more thought surged forward, the image of Lisa. I will find her. I will bring her home. With that declaration, the figures dissipated, screams echoing as the shadows melted away, revealing their true nature, lost souls torn apart by regrets. Mark moved steadily through, a radiating light growing brighter, illuminating everything around him. He turned back to Mia, who mirrored his determination. We can't stop now. She yelled, eyes sparkling. They dashed forward, the path ahead clearing, an escape finally within reach. Just then, the forest erupted in chaos behind them. The laughter that once taunted now faded like a frightened shadow, overwhelmed by the light they had created together. They felt it then, the ground trembling, but not in fear, in release. Finally, they burst into an open clearing, stark contrast to the enveloping woods behind. Mark's heart pounded as the world shifted, freedom lay just ahead. He glanced to the side and witnessed Lisa, her eyes wide with disbelief and relief, emerging from a fog that had separated them for far too long. Mark! She cried, running to them. Arms wide. I thought I'd lost you. Mama! Mia rushed forward, enveloping her in a fierce hug. Mark exhaled, a tidal wave of relief washing over him. We're here, he whispered. We're all together. No more shadows. As they embraced in that light-fueled moment, he felt answered prayers flooding over him, a promise that love had overcome the darkness. The town trembled and shrank into the shadows, its power fading against the truth of their familial bonds. They took one last look back, the last remnants of laughter silenced, replaced by the soft whispers of the foliage that had been once so menacing. And with their hands clasped together, they stepped forward, a family united, walking into the dawn of a new day. This was their victory, an escape not just from the town but from the shackles of their fears. They had survived the unspeakable, and now, they wielded the light that would guide them home. As they walked, the sun broke through the horizon. Each ray symbolized hope, new beginnings, and love rekindled. Mark whispered a silent promise to Max, the family able to carry him in their hearts as they ventured toward the horizon. Like the end of a road trip, the journey had been tumultuous, but they were finally home, now, fellow adventure seekers, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that unravel like this one. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let everyone know you're part of this journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. I want to hear what you thought about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything to us. Be part of this incredible community.